What's up, everybody? Welcome back to All Things Nerdy with Nate and Joe. I'm Nate. That's Joe. Oh, I crushed it. Today we have a really cool topic, one that I'm not overly familiar with, so I got a lot of questions and excited to hear about it. I feel like we could really cruise through this topic. Hey, anyways, I'm Nate. Joe.
Nice dad-like joke there, Nate. Proud of you for that one.
Thanks.
So you are traveling the world. So before we get into it, where are you at right now?
So right now I am, we made some really great friends back in New Orleans and they moved to Italy and they stay outside of Naples in a little village town, whatever they call it, over here named Bacali. And it is absolutely beautiful. And we've been here for the past few days and we're about to, tomorrow we're going into Naples and then Pompeii and then off to the Greek islands. So a lot of fun things.
Excited to eventually talk about your cooking with Nana, but today we're talking with Andrew, and we're going to talk about cruises. So super excited about that. But without further ado, Andrew, talk nerdy to us.
Hey, thanks, Joseph, and thanks, Nate, for having me on today. Very excited to talk to you about one of my biggest passions, which was the cruise industry. Started off actually, went to school to, I either wanted to be a casino host or a cruise director was my initial passions. And you did everything right, even was a Disney intern. But unfortunately, right before I graduated, I actually had a contract with Norwegian and another one with Carnival I was deciding between. But I had found out late I was a type 1 diabetic and didn't realize that disqualifies you. So 3 months roughly before I graduated, finding out that my degree was pointless. But yeah, I still made it work. I went on from that. I worked for a concierge service that was contracted to JP Morgan. So we dealt with all their private bank clients. So I had everyone from Mark Wahlberg to the Huffington family. Yeah.
Time out. How are you going to just like casually name drop? Like, yeah, I worked with Mark Wahlberg and all these things. No, it's just like concierge, but still, I've never got to talk to Mark Wahlberg. I think the dude's awesome. I'd love to chat with him,
Well, to be fair, you usually deal with their assistants, but we got to
Facts.
help with all of their travels. So sometimes it was corporate work we were doing, or sometimes, I know I helped it was the Huffingtons once booked all the suites on an Oceana cruise. So you got to do some pretty interesting things, deal with renting private planes, yachts, stuff like that. So that I did that job for a while, and then I went on to work for a franchise company that was affiliated with American Express, and I got to then train other travel agents who are new to the industry how to sell travel, but primarily cruises and all-inclusive resorts. And I did that until my father ended up falling a little bit ill, so that's when I moved back here to Georgia, and now I've been working marketing mostly in the kind of the fintech and also MSP, kind of the service, IT service provider market. So a little bit of a shift.
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, good. Well, first off, the type 1 diabetic, that is unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that. The good news is most college degrees are useless anyways. So it is what it is. I had a little bit of a similar situation. I went to the College of Charleston, South Carolina. I wanted to do like marine biology. Turns out I had a thing in my brain. It was a whole issue. I had to have brain surgery, but like the depth of diving and all these different things. And then I got a degree in political science and sociology. Absolutely useless. Do nothing with them, but I got it, I guess. So, well, I guess the first
crazy time.
Yeah. The first question I have for you, Andrew, and it's a big one. Tell us all the secrets. The best way of booking. How do I get the biggest discounts?
Biggest discounts. That's huge.
Well, all right. So, for some context, you told me right before the podcast started, you've never been on a cruise before, correct?
I've not, no.
All right. So the biggest thing I want to point out that a lot of people understand is each cruise line is completely different from one another. So don't go into it thinking a cruise is a cruise, so to speak. What I usually tell people is learn what you like best about vacations first. Do you like fine dining, or are you more of an adventure person? Perhaps if you have kids, that comes into play when you're selecting which cruise to go on. And then from there, kind of pick your line, if that makes sense. So if you're into adventure, you got Royal Caribbean. If you're more family oriented, or you're just looking for kind of the bottom rates, you got Carnival. The fun ships, because they have tons of activities for everybody. And then you have your companies like Norwegian, which are more about theater and fine dining, as well as gambling. Actually, they have the largest casinos at sea. So that's how I go about picking your ship, more than just looking at a discount. And then next, be wary of the seasons. Like right now, there's a popular destination, Alaska. If you've never been to Alaska, if you've ever wanted to go, this is the time to book, because it's at the very end of their season, meaning that they're doing last minute deals right now for anybody that wants to go up there. Because I'm thinking like 2 weeks, Alaska's done until next year, which means at the same time, they've now opened up more of their bookings for 2014 has been open, but you have 2015 now, and they're trying to get all their pre-bookings in. So it's the cheapest time if you want to say go to Alaska and whatnot. So that's how I would go about advising somebody when they were looking at going on their first cruise.
Okay.
So, I was gonna say, so it's more of like what you want to do or what you like, and the seasons for like what you're looking at. How do you figure out what seasons?
So some areas, like obviously the Caribbean, are going to be year round. For that, you got to look at. I would not go to the Caribbean, say in July or during spring break, because the ships are going to be beyond capacity and full of just kids everywhere. And also,
Unless you got an army of kids, Joe, then you might love
it. And plus the prices are going to be high. So you got to be a little bit thoughtful there. So if you want to go to the Caribbean, the best times to book actually is right after Thanksgiving. That week is the best, going into December, and or right after school starts in January. But you're going to get your best deals there. So that's how I look at that season. Then you have the Med, which is a whole nother beast, if you will. The Med has the time of the year where it's beautiful and the weather's not that crazy, but the other half of the year, you got to be careful, because it's going to be raining a lot, and then you're going to have rough waters. So when you're looking at your destinations, you got to think of it more in that mindset.
So how many? So I know you've booked a lot, and clearly you have a lot of knowledge. But with this knowledge, it has to come like some execution on your part. How many cruises have you been on?
So I kind of total number, because I got to go on a lot of cruises when I was working in the industry for, with Amex, Cruise Planners, JP Morgan. So I'm counting in site inspections and everything on top of the full cruises I went on as a normal guest. But I've actually, as of my last cruise with MSC, was my 27th cruise.
27 cruises.
That is a lot. What is your favorite thing about cruises? Why do you love it versus, say, I don't want to say traditional travel, but more like, flying and doing? Why cruises?
Many reasons. First off, it's the best bang for your buck. When you break down the cost of a cruise per day, it's cheaper than booking, say, a normal hotel. Even a staycation at the W, a cruise would still be cheaper than that. Each ship is its own city completely. We can talk about the classes of ships, like Royal Caribbean has Oasis, and a lot of those ships can be similar in that one class, but they're all still very different adventures, especially Carnival. Even Carnival's done a great job recently with even ships in the same class being very different and unique. Same with Norwegian. I mean, they were the first ones to bring the ship within the ship, where you have an entire area of suites that, unless you're booked in there, you not only can't have access to, but nobody even, you have to book the Haven to experience the Haven, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of really fun things that go on with the design of the ships, but also if you want to go visit different countries, and I know there's a difference between going to a tourist port of a country versus, just flying there and staying a month. But it's still kind of fun when you can go on a cruise for 5 to 7 days and you're seeing, 4 to 6 different cultures you normally don't get to experience. So
Yeah.
that's why I like
probably
that.
Save you some walking.
It's true. Hey, you can rent a scooter.
I'm a big believer in just travel in general. I don't care how you do it. I just, wish everybody would get out and try and do it as much as they could. And if a cruise line is cheaper, and dude, it is efficient. So like my wife and I, we're traveling through Europe and it's a lot, right? But like what we're doing, we got to find places to stay. How are we going to get there? How long are we going to get there? What's the transportation look like? All these things. Whereas a cruise, never been on a cruise. My thought is like, Taylor just pull you up, you get off, you go, walk around that little town, that little port, you hang out at the beach, whatever it is you want to do, and then you get back on and go. It is a true like stress-free like relaxation, unless maybe you get seasick.
There's a caveat there, and let me share this, especially if you've never been on a cruise before. Excursions, very important. Especially if it's your first time, book the excursions that are approved by the cruise line, or else you do risk being left behind in port. So what people don't know is the ship is on ship's time, not the local country's time. They'll stay to their own unique. So you got to match up. So if it says 4 o'clock, it means 4 o'clock ship time, not 4 o'clock in Jamaica. But the other thing is, if you're on an excursion that's backed by the cruise line and something happens, you're delayed, the ship will wait for you. Where if you're doing your own thing, maybe you just decide to tour the island or whatnot on your own and you're running behind, that ship's going to leave you at port, and it's completely up to you to figure out if you're going to fly yourself home or try to get to the next port. But it's completely out of pocket. It's a very bad experience to do that. But one fun thing is, my personal favorite thing to do with this is do an earlier excursion. That way you not only get back in time, but you'll get back with enough time you can get to the buffets without the lines. But most fun is, especially if you have a balcony, you can get back to your suite or your balcony, and especially if you're port side, watch the pier, because pier running is the funniest thing you're ever going to see, because these are super long piers and you have the idiots that did not follow the advice and they're running like all get out, and the ship's just like, see ya.
Just slowly take it off, and they're like, no.
Just dive into the water after them. I'm going to swim the whole way.
Yeah.
Now, is it allowed? Like, say I take a cruise to somewhere like from here to the Caribbean, and I decide, you know what, I want to stay in the Caribbean for a while. Can I intentionally just not get back on the boat and then find a different way home? Is that allowed?
It's going to be more challenging than you think. Technically, yes, you can do it. Would I recommend it? No, because if you do that, make sure you have all your stuff. But B, definitely let the boat know you're going to do that, so that way they don't think you're a missing person. Because it's the same issues as I know people do that with flights. They'll book a flight that's not not round trip, but they'll book a flight that has stops intentionally, and they'll get off at a stop, and it really messes things up, and it causes unnecessary panic. But there are also cruises though that are built in like that. Going back to Alaska, for instance, you can book tours at the start or end of your ship, so that way let's say they're one way cruises, say going to Juneau. You get to Juneau and it's already built, so the next part of your trip is actually, say, on a train, and that's taking you maybe into Canada or back down, towards either like Vancouver or even back into like Seattle. So if you're going to do that, be smart on how you're doing. Just don't get off the ship, and not tell anybody, because you can actually get banned from the cruise lines if they catch on to you doing that.
Yeah. Plus,
well, first,
I need to do the whole cruise. It'd be weird to kind of be like, "Yep, I'm going to do it now."
I'm out. Man, I just want to say, you might be the only person in the world that thinks the airlines give a shit about anybody in any situation. That is the first time I've ever heard somebody like panic might ensue. I fly all the time. But those people, they don't give a damn about anybody. You can just not show up and they're like, well, doesn't matter.
We got a comment that said Nate would do that. That's why he asked the question. He was like, let me brainstorm here really quick. What if I just get back on?
My favorite, if you're trying to have an experience with an experience, Celebrity has a lot of these. This was right before the pandemic, especially. They've picked back up since then doing it, but like they would go into Rome and they would overnight in Rome for like a day or two. So you can get off the ship, get a hotel, go around Italy, enjoy yourself, or they book around big events like Formula One was a big one. So you can go, you can actually watch the race from the boat, or even get off and go to the race, spend the day in town, and not have to worry about getting on the ship until the next morning or the day after. So there are some cruises that naturally tailor, so you're not having to, be sketchy and just disappear.
Just we have a question from Stephanie. It says, "What happens if you get left?" So you did accidentally get left at port. Like I know you mentioned,
Accidentally.
yeah, accidentally get left at port. No, like it's on your dollar to like get to the next port or next meetup, but like I guess what actually happens?
So usually they'll have officials at the port to help guide you, because unfortunately it doesn't happen often. The percentages are, basically zero, but every cruise, one or two people usually happens to them. First thing you're gonna do, obviously, talk to the officials, but you're probably gonna have to head to your local consulate, because most people have their passport, but they don't take it with them, meaning that your passport's on the ship. So they're gonna help you get in contact with the company, or whether it's Carnival, Norwegian, Holland, America, it doesn't matter. And then you have two choices from there. If you have the money and the next port you can get to the airport in time, you can fly to the next port and reconnect with your ship, or you have to make arrangements to get back to where you departed from, because when the ship returns, you have to be there to collect your stuff.
That makes sense.
So it's
either go back or continue forward. I mean, I would hope you'd be able to get back on and sync back up, but I guess it would be challenging.
I just want to point out, you said basically zero, but one or two people per cruise.
Well, there's 5,000 people plus on some of these ships. I mean, these ships are super cities. So when you're thinking about it, one or two people, two people could just be a couple. That's one stateroom out of 1,000 plus staterooms. So
I didn't think about there being 5,000 people.
Yeah, let's see, 2 divided by 5,000. That's like 0.00004%. So I mean,
yeah. So
small
Andrew,
percentage.
What is the best way to book? Is it to go to their website? Is it to call them? Is it to find a rep like you? I've talked to a rep before. My wife and I, we thought about taking a cruise. We ended up not doing it. But what is the best way to book?
So you have three options booking. You can obviously book yourself. You could book with a personal cruise planner that works for the cruise line, or you can use a travel agent. I'm a big fan for when it comes to cruises, use a travel agent. And we can get into, depending on what type of travel you do, will change. If there's times you book things yourself, and there's other times you use a travel agent. In this case, I would use an agent for a lot of reasons. One, usually they'll have special insights or perks, things you can book into. Maybe it's special amenities. I know when we used to book clients, I would always have things in the room. If it's a celebration, we'd have balloons or a cake. If it's a couple getting, having a romantic type getaway or a honeymoon, we do the chocolate covered strawberries and, champagne waiting for them, or book them with, doing a captain's dinner. Those are things that if you book on your own, you're not going to get. And even if you book with a personal cruise planner, sometimes you don't always get those favors. So you get that little bit personalized touch. But let's say something does go wrong. Nate, you decided to go to the beach and you didn't pay attention to ship time and they left you. Well, that's another resource that can help you in any situation, whether it's you got left behind, or maybe, any vacation, something can go wrong. Maybe something was wrong in your stateroom, or you bought, an exclusive dinner and something happened with that. Instead of having to waste your time on vacation, you can simply reach out to your travel agent and they can handle all that chaos and mess while you're enjoying the rest of your day, instead of waiting on hold, hoping somebody helps you.
That's a huge perk right there.
Yeah, it is in of itself, for real.
Okay.
So Andrew, couple questions. What is your favorite cruise line? And I know it matters, what do you want to do? But you personally, you get one boat, one cruise line, one cruise for the rest of your life. What are you going with?
Ooh, I know some people do live on boats. I've thought about it. That's a good question. I would probably go with Royal Caribbean myself, just because I'm more of an adventure person. So they have the rock climbing walls. You can go do. They have like the surfing areas. Um, their destinations are a little bit different, even though they are still kind of a mainstream or mainline cruise. But I think that one would fit my taste a little bit better, just because they're more geared towards like an adventure mindset, where Carnival's more of a nonstop party, and then Norwegian's a little bit more. Um, it's more about like the theater and the high dining, and that's cool. Don't get me wrong, but I'd rather see somebody like doing a high dive out the end of a boat and in an aqua show than sitting in the middle of Broadway.
Yeah, for sure. And then your favorite location, your favorite place to take a cruise.
That is tough. I really enjoyed Montego Bay. That was a fun one, just because it was like they had this whole like water park type setup, and it was almost like a lot of the areas are a little bit more traditional when it has, especially in the islands, because you have like the same excursions and whatnot, where this is almost more like going to a theme park. So it just
Okay.
changed things up a little bit.
All right.
So
And then go ahead,
uh,
Joe.
I was going to piggyback off of kind of that question, was like, what is like one of the most memorable experiences that you've had like on a cruise?
Ooh.
Dude, we're hitting them with you today.
I know. He
Well,
said
I have a very
27 of
funny
them, so
story
it's
that
tough.
happened, and this had nothing to do with the cruise. This was I'm just gonna tell it because it's funny. My dad will probably kill me, but I almost got into a lot of trouble once getting off of a cruise, and we were stationed back. We got the cruise departed and came back to Old San Juan, Puerto Rico. And a lot of people don't know this, but there's very strict laws around food and what you can and can not bring on or take off of a ship. And I know you might know this normally from travel, Nate, since you go several places, but you have customs and you have the FDA. They're very strict with these regulations. Well, we came back and we got to the airport, and my parents realized they left. They never took. They never got their suitcases from customs, and it's like a 30-minute trip between the airport to where the boats are in port. So I got a taxi, and it was chaotic because they were celebrating, I forget the name of it, but they have like an extended Christmas in Puerto Rico. It goes on for like a whole week. It's like a nonstop party around Christmas. So traffic was crazy. So I was like, I'll just go get them. I went and got my dad's bags, and as I'm coming back from the airport, not realizing obviously the suitcases are not my name because they're my parents. My dad had tried to smuggle a coconut, and so when the bags were getting scanned, I got like, next thing I know, alarms are going off. They're asking if it's my bag. They're searching the bag. There are 1,001 questions, and I'm over here like worried I'm about to miss my flight. I'm like, like, where's my dad? Like, I need him to like explain this before I get like arrested and put on a no-fly list over a coconut in his suitcase. So that was probably the most memorable thing that's ever happened on a cruise. Granted, it was post cruise, but yeah, I still don't let my dad down about that one.
Dude, so me and my wife, we travel a lot, and I'm a rule breaker through and through, right? Like I do what I want for the most part, but when it comes to TSA, it comes getting stuff through the airport. I'm like, Steph, take this. Steph, take it. Because look, I mean, I love my wife. She would thrive in prison. She'd whoop everybody's ass. She'd crush them, right? So like, if one of us got to go, you know. So like, we were coming back from somewhere, and like I had like, I think it was Honduras, and I had like vanilla bean in my bag and everything. You best believe, like, real quick, I was like, "Whoop, that's going in your bag."
Just in case.
That's funny you say that. I love going to the airport with my dad, because when you go to the airport, I'm usually like shirt, hoodie, like multiple layers, tons of baggy clothes on. My dad's over there rocking like a Hawaiian shirt and like swim trunks, right? But my dad's a big guy. He's 5'5", Native American background. I joke half the time he looks Samoan, but we go through the airport together. I go through with a backpack, baggy clothes. Nobody says anything to me go through it. My dad, who's basically wearing next to nothing, immediately always like gets randomly selected in line to be searched. And there's going to be another family cruise coming up soon. And I now especially can't wait to see what happens to my dad at the airport because he has like titanium knees and all these other from surgery. So he's already setting off the alarms on top of everything that's going on. So
Yeah.
I usually go before him so I can turn around and just snicker while I'm watching the whole process.
It's just
my
payback
gosh.
for the coconut. I mean, it's
Man, well, we have been lucky. We have not had no issues, thankfully. Like for the most part, the TSA agents are like, "You got anything?" We're like, "No." They're like, "Okay, go ahead." So we've been. I will say there's been a couple. So coming back from Iceland, they use the honor system. They give no shits,
Interesting.
right? It's do you have something to claim? Yes or no. You get to pick which way you want to go, and then you're done. That's it. So we're just like, nope, we going this way. And they don't check you, they don't talk to you, they don't know that. It's the honor system.
Oh wow.
So yeah.
That's
So
cool.
my friends wanted me to ask you, Andrew, are the drink packages worth it? Is it better to go to the ship, buy your own drinks, or do you buy the packages and just get like nasty drunk?
So that's a loaded question. Once again, it also changes by which line you go on. For instance, Carnival versus say MSC have very different policies with their drink package. First thing I want to talk about first, though, is there's more than just alcoholic drink packages, which are important. A lot of people don't realize on ships, the only thing that's free is water, tea, and some juices. Like lemonade, sometimes OJ at breakfast, but you're really limited on the free drink. So if you normally drink sodas, Coke, Pepsi, whatever, go ahead and at least get the soda drink package because just like being in Hawaii, everything on a ship is imported. So nothing is cheap. Like if you want a can of soda, I mean, you're looking $3, $4 a pop sometimes just to have a Coke with dinner. So those are usually worth it. If you do get an alcoholic package, just most cruise lines demand the entire room gets it. All the people staying in the stateroom have to have some sort of drink package if one person has it. But the question is, what do you normally, are you a fancy drinker or are you drinking like you just graduated from college? Because that affects the different ranges. Are you bougie or are you just, rum and Coke all day? That's fine. And then it comes down to how much you do like to drink. There's different breakdowns. Like I think on Carnival, you have to drink at least like 10 to 11 drinks a day to break even or to make it worth it. But one thing I do want to point out is even if you buy a drink package, and even if it's one of the top tier packages, be very weary and double check before getting one of the like coconut drinks or like the souvenir looking drinks, because sometimes those aren't always covered on your drink package. So you might incur an extra charge with them. And then not to rattle on, but also some cruise lines, going back to a little travel agent and or deals. Sometimes when you book your cruise, you can also get a free drink package. So Norwegian's famous. Like I know right now the Norwegian Sun. Granted, you have a little extra gratuities you got to pay for it, but your drink package is free there. When I did my cruise with MSC, how I got booked into that, I got my drink package basically kind of completely comped. So there's ways around it where you're not always having to pay full fare for it.
Okay.
So I'm hearing that having a travel agent would be a huge help for all
Yes.
like just the secret stuff that you wouldn't necessarily know about.
So
The other thing too is go ahead.
No, go ahead if you got something to say to that.
I was just saying, with the other thing too is advising, because you are going to countries, and especially if you've never been there, they usually can tell you which excursions or what's fun to do, what's the best bang for your buck. Because if you go completely blind to certain areas, like even the Bahamas, there's also a lot of little pitfall tourist traps that if you have a travel agent, they can advise you like what to stay away from.
Let me tell you, if you've never been to like the Caribbean or anything like that, these people are out there willing and dealing, baby. They trying to get you on everything. So we went to Honduras and we had this guy, his name's Pinky. Oh my God. This dude checked on us every day, but he was one of those people trying to, just he didn't work for the hotels, he didn't do any of that. He had friends that could hook you up, but every day he was trying to will and deal stuff, and people went for it, and he was a good dude, kind of a liar, not kind of, was a liar. It is what it is. Nice, decent, nice guy. Anyways, dude, like every day, like, hey, y'all ready to do that whatever excursion today? I got you. I got a friend, got a boat. He's gonna take you here. He's gonna take you there. I'll give you a discount. Like the hotel's got it for $5. I'll give it to you for $4.50. You just gotta get here and there. And we're like, nah, Pinky, it's good, man. Don't worry. We're good, just chilling. But so like going through like a travel agent that can tell you which excursions to go through to save you from being pulled into one, because they are relentless. You don't talk about sales.
Yeah, they are.
Those people would crush it in the sales world. No means jack diddly to them. All right, you're like, no, I'm good. They're like, well, let me just talk to you. No, I'm good, man. I'll give it to you for free. Well, now I'm listening. It's only $300. I thought you said free. Well, it's free for this conversation.
That's funny. Are you a travel agent? Like, do you help people like with booking stuff, or?
So that's a good question. This exact second, right now, I am not. My past I was, but actually as of December, I'm going to be restarting my old business on the side. It'll be kind of my side hustle, if you will. I'm going to go back into travel with KHM. They're a host agency. But I stopped actually when the pandemic hit, because if you meet anyone that's worked in travel, it was the hardest time. The lockdown worldwide, you can't do anything. You can't go anywhere.
The cruise lines struggled.
Yeah, they were all forced to basically take their ships out towards the Bahamas and anchor in the ocean and just sit there. And a lot of cruise lines, some cruise lines failed completely. And then even Carnival, which is a massive, massive company, they were still scrapping ships left and right just to pay their bills. So
yeah, a lot of them asked for federal aid and stuff like that to get through the pandemic. Their stock plummeted. You could buy so much cruise line stock, and a lot of the expectation is that just wouldn't come back, because after COVID, the expectation is like people are going to be used to this not traveling, which is not how it worked out. But the thought was like people are going to still not travel. They're going to be worried. There's going to be new strands for the next 13, 11 years, things like that. So they didn't know when they were going to bounce back. So the stock just
the bigger companies won't actually go anywhere. I mean, they may limit their fleets completely down to the bare bones, but a lot of people don't understand their stock for the companies, and then each of these ships have individual private investment stock in them. And fun fact, JP Morgan actually owns the largest share across the board of ships for investments. But yeah, JP Morgan Chase, you got Bank of America, of course, but the big banks are actually the ones that are invested in the ship, and they become property or collateral if they don't pay their bills. And I'm mad. I'm drawing a blank on the name. I'll send it to you after the podcast when it pops back in my head. But there was a funny story. One of the cruise lines did go out of business. They were down to 3 ships, and they were like the Fifth Circuit Court of New York or whatever ruled against them for the debtors. And so the ships were marked to be seized, so that way the banks can come get them and scrap them to sell for profit. Well, they decided if we stay in international waters, America can't do anything to us. So they sent one ship to the Pacific over towards Hawaii. They sent another one in the Caribbean, and they sent the third one. Found out right before they were supposed to dock in Fort Lauderdale, and immediately said, nope, we're not docking. Went to the Bahamas, dropped all their passengers off in the Bahamas, and thought they'd be safe sitting out there. Well, Coast Guard went and got the one in the Caribbean, the one in the Pacific, and then there's this weird standoff because the one in the Bahamas technically was within Bahamian waters, and they have their own little navy and everything. And after it was like less than a week, it's like the United States gave them like 4 days, and they said, all right, you want to play games? Cool. United States sent their navy into the Bahamas, pirate style, captured the cruise ship, and arrested the captain on site, and towed the ship back to the United States. So,
at least I know my taxes went to something.
I'm the captain now.
No, they're like they basically completely challenged the Bahamas. Like they're like, cool, you have your little navy vessels. we actually have a navy. What are you going to do? And they went and just blockaded the island they're on and came in and dared them to stop them. And they just literally took the ship.
They're like, we don't
Sounds like
care about
America.
international waters. This is our ship. Wow. We do have another question from Stephanie. It says, do you have any recommendations for people that get seasick but want to try a cruise?
Yeah. So if you've never been on one, you're going to want to do two things. A, look for calmer waters. So maybe try one that's going out of Tampa or one that's going out of Galveston, or a few go out of New Orleans as well. So Carnival might be a good place to start since that's the majority of the cruise lines that operate there. But pick something that's in the Gulf. So do like a 4-day cruise, say from going from New Orleans or out of Galveston that goes down to Cozumel. And also stay away from hurricane season. So you might want to look maybe the wintertime, because it's still going to be warm down there, but you're not going to have, like during the summer, especially if all these hurricanes that are coming in. So you avoid that. You're in calmer water. The other thing to look for is a smaller ship. So I know a lot of people like these huge ships. Celebrities coming out with the Ascent. It's one of their largest. It's part of their Edge class. We talked about, Royal Caribbean has their Oasis. Stay away from those ships. And if you're not in calm waters, or sometimes even if you are, because the bigger the ship, if you have any wind, having a 17-story tall ship, it kind of becomes a sail a little bit. The last recommendation with that is pick your stateroom kind of like in the midship area, and probably stay kind of, I don't necessarily want to say lower deck, but kind of in that mid area. And I know that's where sometimes you'll have like the buffets and whatnot, but that's going to be the most stable part of the ship if it starts to rock.
And like, there's patches and all kind of stuff for seasickness, right? Like, I mean, I know you probably don't get into all that, but
yeah, and all the ships have doctors on them too. If you go down and you let the doctor know, you're feeling seasick, they'll give them to you. There's pills you can take. There's, you mentioned the patches. There's a couple of different remedies for it. But yeah, they definitely have medical staff that can help you. Plus, you can talk to your doctor beforehand. They usually can prescribe you things you can bring on the ship as well.
Okay.
One quick question. So we've talked about travel agents several times. I guess a single travel agent, do they work with all the lines? Or if I call like Bob, does Bob just specifically work with like Norwegian? Or is Bob going to be like, hey, what do you want to do? This is the best one for you. This is what we can offer. Or is it kind of siloed?
So usually travel agents work with all the cruise lines, and they're free to use, by the way, because they're paid by the supplier. They're not paid by you. So there's no extra cost using a travel agent. But yeah, most of them will work with several lines. The only time it gets, I guess, specialized or different is sometimes the cruise lines will have training, or it can specialize in different areas or different, like Disney's famous for it, Princess is famous for it. So sometimes you may have an agent that's just more specialized with a certain brand, and that occasionally will give them different perks they can offer you. But as far as being able to book, any travel agent should be able to help you with any of the main brands, or the U.S. market type companies.
Awesome.
And so one question for you specifically. So do you take any souvenirs from like cruises? I know your dad tried to take a coconut, but do you specifically take any souvenirs, and like what is like one of your favorite souvenirs that you've gotten from a cruise? So
it's a good question. So when I first started going on cruises I was originally with my family, freshman year of college. My family used to buy the replicas of the ship. My parents are huge Carnival fanatics, and they literally would start buying the actual like moldings of the ship, and that was pretty cool. But I would say I always buy souvenirs because, I mean, bringing for friends and family back home, there's unique things that you only can buy from those cruises. So they just make fun gifts to give out. But my favorite was it's actually MSC. They're known for their gelato, and also they have these artists that like mold things in chocolate. And the ship that I was on made basically high-end, like specialized like high heels, but out of chocolate. And so I bought them for somebody I was dating at the time to take back, which actually turned into the most difficult gift I've ever had to transport because it's chocolate in a box. That's a shoe. So you don't want it to melt. You don't want to get crushed. TSA tries to take it from you and you're like, no, carry on.
My precious.
But they only made so many. So like by the second day, they were all sold out. But there's tons of artwork. There's a huge like statue of like a Roman type warrior that was like taller than I am, completely carved and made out of chocolate. So I bought a lot of cool souvenirs from those chefs just because what they were creating with them was just unreal.
Yeah, that's crazy. I would have had no idea.
Yeah, imagine having to transport the huge statue of a warrior. How do you get that home?
I'm pretty sure they have some logistics on board that takes care of that. Because even when I bought the shoe, for instance, I didn't get it right then. Sometimes they can wrap it, but a lot of times they'll hold it and then you pick it up on like your last day, so that way it's like in safekeeping.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I have anything else, Joe.
Yeah, we're a little over time, so sorry for keeping you past our agreed upon time, but I don't have any other questions. Andrew, got anything? Any parting words for us before we end the live?
I actually just learned something interesting. I don't know if anyone here watches Below Deck, but every time there's a new ship, you have like a godmother or godfather that gets named. Like Pitbull was with one of the Norwegian ships. You've had Jimmy Buffett get named, but the Celebrity Ascent, which is actually in sea trials right now, it's coming out the 1st of December. Well, is when they're going to start public cruises. They did a couple things interesting. They didn't name one, but they named 2 different women as the godmothers of the ship. But the reason I brought Below Deck is one of the 2 of them is actually Captain Sandy from Below Deck Med. Is now she's going to be the official godmother of the new Celebrity Ascent, which is kind of fascinating.
That's kind of cool. I got more questions. I won't keep you because I know we're over time, but now I'm about to go Google how to become a godfather of a ship.
All right.
And start working
Just
through
drop
that
knowledge on us.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But Andrew,
Thank you
man,
so
we
much,
appreciate
Andrew.
you. Yep. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you for having me on today.
Yep. Take care.